Deadpool Negative back with another comic review. This time of the 2024 Energon Universe special. And of course, this is the hottest thing in comics right now, the Energon Universe, which is so far the shared universe featuring Daniel Warren Johnson's Transformers, a series of G.I. Joe character miniseries, Duke, Cobra Commander, Scarlet, Destro, written initially by Joshua Williamson, and the all new property, Void Rivals, a space a story about warring alien factions by Robert Kirkman and Lorenzo Felici. And this is the free comic book day tie-in. I have the purchase cover. I got both for some reason. This is Lorenzo Felici, excuse me. Anyway, this is one of those teaser dealies, that they do every free comic book day. And just to set up what's been going on in the titles. And again, I've said this many times before, and I will continue saying it. The Energon universe is basically the ultimate line of the old cartoon shows. That's especially been driven home in the most recent. The majority of the Easter eggs are not comic or toy Easter eggs. They're Easter eggs for people who've watched the original cartoon shows. Now, granted, Johnson, despite what Comic Perch would have you believe, there are some new ideas, at least in the G.I. Joe books, some very interesting new ideas. But Transformers is very traditional and it's very fun, and it's the best-selling comic right now. And Void Rebels is actually a pretty entertaining series. What I've read of it, I read the first arc and some of the other issues, and maybe one or two of the other issues. I'm kind of bothered by the fact. I mean, I'm sure Robert Kirkman, of all people, went into the deal knowing what he was doing. But Void Rivals is entirely creation of Kirkman and Felici, yet, as far as I can tell, the Indicia, Hasbro owns it. Hasbro owns it all right now. Again, I'm sure Kirkman negotiated himself a good deal, but it seems like a kind of a shame because it's an entertaining series. I think it's much stronger than, in terms of Kirkman can go deep, but he's not. He's probably still one of the better. I have a lot of issues with his writing, but as in terms of, he's probably one of the better pop entertainment writers that have come along. And anyway, but I've been mostly enjoying the Transformers and the G.I. Joe stuff. I think the Duke miniseries is probably the strongest Josh Williamson thing I've ever seen, and he's in this issue. I thought Tom Riley did a very good job in the artwork. But this is an interesting special. It's basically, like teasers. And but let's start it off. First, we have regular Transformers writer Daniel Warren Johnson. Starts off with what happened to Megatron. Now we know, if you read the Transformers series, Megatron was somehow thrown from the Ark when it crashed to Earth. And if you've read Cobra Commander, you know where he landed. And if you haven't read that at this point, you're going to be very surprised because they show what happens when the ship crashed to Earth, the Ark crashed to Earth, and Megatron and he has Ryan Ottley of all people draw this issue, this short story, and holy smokes, it is a beautiful, beautiful looking comic book. I mean, look at this double page spread. Look at this. It's amazing. I was so impressed with just how much fun Ottley seemed to be having. Ottley's work is just so dynamic and so much fun when he's allowed to cut loose. I mean, I know a lot of people didn't like the Cates run with Ottley on Hulk. I thought it was great, partially because of Ottley's artwork, because it just fit the over the top nature of the comic, and whatever issues Donny Cates had. It was kind of a shame that it was cut short by issue 14, but that's the way the world. But then again, we got the Philip Kitty Johnson, which I think is quite good and does an interesting job picking up on some of the ideas that Hal Ewing was doing without departing from them entirely. So yeah, this is just a beautiful looking You don't know, again, you don't know where Megatron went. His arm was in the Ark, but the rest of him was, we found out, was on a snowy mountain. And we find out in Cobra Commander that was where it was. He landed on Cobra La somehow. I mean, well, more accurately, Cobra La found him recently and was screwing with him. And Megatron escapes at last from Cobra La. And oh man, it's just. I mean, I would always say it's almost worth the price of admission. This story, because it's worth it to give it to someone. Oh, by the way, he fell out of the ark because Starscream knocked him out. Um, if someone who hasn't read the books at all up to this point does no idea what they are. I mean, if this is a fan, it would be wonderful just to give this to them and watch their brain melt. Um, Too bad Burgess Meredith is no longer with us. The second story is by Kirkman D. Felici about Void Rivals, and it doesn't actually contain any of the characters' original Void Rivals. It contains characters that were aliens on the animated series of Transformers, and then it has another Transformer, and a character we haven't seen yet in the Johnson series or Void Rivals. And it's a character that has a great design, but I don't think a lot of people like. I'll put it that way. What are these characters again? The Slizoid and the Suxoid. Um, I never called it. I don't know the character's name, but it's basically a plot, where this certain Transformer is looking for something and talks to the Slizoid and the Suxoid to help him, and it's really just it's a like barely 6-page story where it's real. D. Felici art is very nice. Um, and I think it's funny that the Suxoid character has a wife and kids. But it's not something you do. There's really zero context to what this Transformer and these aliens are doing, and it doesn't work. I don't think it worked too well. I thought it was kind of odd. It just felt like something he cut from one of his issues. But if you like Void Rivals, it's another piece of the puzzle. This third story isn't as awesome as the Transformer story, but it's most interesting. Basically, Duke decides to recruit the Baroness into G.I. Joe. And this is another thing, a departure. Baroness is not connected to Destro. She's a random mercenary that tried to kill Duke, and Duke finds a way to get her to join the Joe team. Joshua Williamson wrote this, and Jason Howard, a name I haven't heard a while in comics. I'm sure he's been doing something I just didn't notice. And it's pretty wild looking. Doesn't entirely. There's like this double page spread just kind of overdoes it, but he's great with his facial expressions. Anyway, I mean this series is trying to do different things with G.I. Joe, despite what some other YouTubers would say. And what I think is interesting is Duke has a good argument for why he wants to include the Baroness in his team, in the G.I. Joe team. Will it work? We'll see. There's also an interesting. There's a scene where Hawk looks at the files. He looks at Scarlet and Destro, who we both know are getting their own G.I. Joe miniseries. Then he sees pictures of Tomax and Xamot and the Dreadnoks. Now, I don't know if I've been to a Tomax and Xamot series, but I would totally read a Dreadnoks miniseries. I hope I still have the trade of the Dreadnoks Declassified miniseries that Joshua Blaylock did for Devil's Due, which wasn't great, but the Dreadnoks are interesting, fun characters, and I'd like to see what Williamson and the rest of the team has in mind for those characters. I kind of wish that it's kind of frustrating because I wish there was a G.I. Joe ongoing, but I understand why there isn't because we have a real American hero, and eventually they'll probably build to a G.I. Joe ongoing. But it's not a problem. It's just I don't know. I'm more inclined to wait for the trade. Anyway, this is it was a fun. It was like I would just buy it for the artwork. The artwork's fantastic, but only the first and third stories are really like interesting or intriguing. The middle story is just it's just. I mean, Felici does a really is a really nice artist. Like I wish I was into that Oblivion, but wasn't my thing. Anyway, give it a shot if you want. It's a fun. What the hell is going on? If you haven't been writing this stuff so far. And if you're reading them, you'll be rewarded if you have been reading them. Anyway, like and subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and I will talk to you later.